Recently, the Lord keeps on highlighting to me the fate that befell that friend that met the guy real fast. That met the guy when she was 21 and he impregnated her, and at the same time as she was graduating, she was marrying and all that jazz. The Lord has been showing me a flash vision of me ending up like that friend of mine, where I would meet a guy that would appear to be doting over me, and I would hide secretly, clandestinely, the true nature of this guy and make it look to everybody like he was the glory of the earth, and then enter into a marriage with a man that I knew in the run-up to the marriage was actually quite abusive, and then stay in the marriage for a few years, still smiling and cheersing to everybody, talking about how my husband is so great, and making excuses for why he's not coming to all the events, and then next thing, all of a sudden, overnight, boo, we're getting a divorce. Like that fate. The Lord keeps showing me that is a strategy that is following me behind right now. Following me behind. So that's why I'm finally telling the story about this friend who was turned into darkness. This man was so spiritually manipulative of my friend. He was abusive from the get-go. When they got a divorce, I was like, who hectic. My friend initially was mum on the details of what's going on because she thought she could just hide all of this information and pretend like she did not lie to all of us and everybody around for all of these years, or conceal the true nature of what was happening in that place. But I believe my redemption, getting saved, made a difference. Like the Holy Spirit, I was opening up about a lot of random rubbish that I have done, and I was comforting because I was indwelt by the Holy Spirit, and I was encouraging. And so she decided to come out dirty laundry engata. And one time I remember that party that I told you guys that we went to at their house, the housewarming, where I was taking photos, got a digital camera. The next day I uploaded, this is before they divorced, of course. The next day I upload very fast and furious these photos on I told you my friend had like a whole Facebook profile where it was just her photos, maybe her baby, but this guy was never in them. I upload the pics because I took digital photos of everybody and I uploaded them on Facebook. I then tagged all of my friends that were in these photos. After tagging them, the next morning I remember waking up to a call. Not waking up, sorry, she called me when I was in the office. Alright, and she's like, hey girl, how are you? No, I'm good. Can you please just remove Dinepe? Let's say his name, Bad Guy. Let's just call it Bad Guy. Like proper, at this point I'm tired of making up names. Bad Guy. She's like, Karabom. Hi girl, how are you? Yeah, cool. Please, can you remove Bad Guy's photos from the internet, ne? Kopa o di tlose fela. Kopa o tlose Dinepe tsa hae. Tsaka, you can keep them on there. My photos you can keep. The photos of everybody else you can keep. But can you please just any photo where he is at, please take it down. Any photo where he's at, please take it down. I was like, yo, that's a lot. Remember, this guy was laughing with us. He was smiling. We were celebrating. We were toasting. We were cheersing. We were taking photos. And in the photos, he was busy posing on some, taking out his tongue and squinting. All different kinds of funny guy things. Very bubbly. And then my friend calls me as soon as she wakes up to see on Facebook notification, Karabo has tagged you. And then she goes through the pics online and immediately lifts the phone and is like, Karabo, can you please just bring down the photos where he's at, where Bad Guy's at, but the ones where I'm at, you can leave them up. And it then made me realize on that day that, so that's the reason why. Everything and everyone is in your Facebook except for this guy, but he's your husband. He's your husband. For crying out loud, I did not think much of it, but I did think something of it. I did not think much of it, but that was the first time that even though I wanted to brush it off as something much bigger and much more serious, I think it was a coping mechanism. I just kind of left it, okay? But for me, I remember even telling my boyfriend, on some, dude guy, let's say my ex's name was Tepo. I was like, Tepo. What is this? Madibuseng called me and she asked me to bring down Dinepe, the Bad Guy, mo Facebook. She's like, I mustn't tag him. I must bring down every photo. And I was like, it's so many of these photos. And my boyfriend was like, yo, why? Even my ex couldn't understand. And my ex wasn't even on social media at the time. He didn't have any social media accounts. It was before everybody was insistent on having social media. I wanted him to get Facebook, but he didn't have it. He didn't want to for whatever reason, right? But he was all over my social media, this ex of mine, and everybody's boyfriend was all over their social media, and this is a man's wife, so it's not like a husband. It's not like a boyfriend that's got like 10 girlfriends all across the city. And so he doesn't want to put you or show you on social media. Once a man makes an honest woman out of you, once he marries you, I think that's pretty much safe passage for you to be put on his Instagram, for you to be put on his Facebook, or for you to put him on your Facebook. You know, at the time it was Facebook more than it was Instagram, and she told me to bring down the Nepeta High. I did that because, you know, honor, you know, no need to disrespect anybody, but it kept me thinking. And in about a year from that date, that's when I personally, in and of myself, got out of the relationship with my ex, blah blah. I got born again, blah blah. Yeah, and then when after getting saved, that's when my friend and I started talking deeper about her divorce. That's when information started to pop out, and she was like, "Do you know that bad guy Unang Shapa? He used to beat me up, like Unang Shapa. He used to like properly throw my body against like walls and stuff, and he made me do things when we were together that I didn't want to do, and to this day they're still really like crushing me inside. I don't understand how in the world under heaven I stayed around for so long." And then she went into detail about the nature or the state of the affair that he had with some other girl, some other woman. And he said that this other woman, during the time when she was staying at home with her parents during divorce proceedings, this guy he moved in. First of all, why didn't he go to his parents' house and leave her in the house? But anyway, whatever. He moved her in. He moved the other woman in. He moved the woman in and used to like slather this other woman in her face and made her feel like she ain't jack in comparison to that other woman. So it was not just some fluke of an affair with a man irresponsibly sleeping with someone that's not his wife, but he was actively using that other woman to make my friend feel like trash. And I had seen that before with my own older sister. I had seen that before, where it is that a guy will be so insecure in the presence of his woman that he will go out of his way to find a substandard woman in order to like slap like butter across her face this woman to belittle the other lady. My sister was also in a similar marriage, and her husband cheated on her with he was an American guy, and he came to South Africa with my sister, and this guy met one of our childhood friends, like some chick that used to stay in our neighborhood as kids growing up, that we used to play with Chicago, get our knees ashy and everything. And this chick, even though we had history and we'd known each other from childhood, she basically eloped with my sister's husband. And this chick was at the end of herself. She was a model that was at the end of her modeling career. She was hitting 30, or maybe she was already in her 30s, and the modeling industry was no longer even trying to use her anymore. And she had not done anything with her life. She had not studied, she had not done anything, no backup plan. And so, because she had no backup plan, when she heard that American accent, when she saw dollars, she was like, "Hey, this is my way out of a lifetime poverty or lifetime mediocrity." And this chick seduced the living daylights out of my sister's man, my sister's American man. She looked just like my sister physically. They looked like alike. So essentially this guy was attracted to her because she looked like my sister. However, unlike my sister, who was like a whole thriving, bustling academic that could take care of herself and do everything that she needed for herself, this chick was needy. She was needy. He was her lifeboat out of South African poverty. I apologize for the speech lag. She was her way out. He was her way out of the grain or the mold of what she would inevitably end up as. Plus, she was a baby mama of some kid already, and so for her, the prospects of, you know, a man can be very shallow. When a woman has a child, they think that she's not worth that much anymore, and so they don't have to work that hard on her type establishment thing. So this woman, when she noticed that this guy had an attraction for her because she was similar to my sister, they looked alike, they looked similar. I told you, we're tall, this chick was a model, my sister wasn't a model, neither did I ever become a model, but we looked like models, we were tall, right? And this guy was attracted to this chick because she looked like my sister. She looked like my sister. And yeah, look, I'm sorry if there's a speech lag issue going on there. I hope my words are audible. And however, the thing that lacked in this woman was the level of ambition and the independence that my sister had. So my friend, remember, she married this guy just after getting her degree. By the time they got divorced, she was already working. She had already interned. She was doing okay, well for herself. She was about to grow and become something big. And he was still running his thing that he was running on the side. And the for him, it was like he started to, I guess, think in a very typical fashion that women baba dealing. They're gonna go and meet guys out there that are just like them in the office. And so his insecurities brewed and bubbled and bubbled and bubbled. And this guy that was with my sister back then from the US, my sister was also growing and bubbling and whatnotting, and this dude wanted I don't know, it's like it must be a problem with black men, wanted somebody that he could handle, keep in a bunch, subdue. And my sister was not subduable, so he ran off with a version of my sister that lacked ambition, and a version of my sister that needed him for every last one of her needs, that needed him to buy her even tampons at the end of the month. So he fled with her. He divorced my sister. It was a messy divorce, and he kept on slathering in my sister's face. This woman, on some, she's better than you. She's so much prettier than you. She is more of a woman than you ever can be. He went out of his way to make my sister feel like she was nothing in comparison to this woman. But when you look at that woman, when we as women looked at her, she was just a substandard, lackluster thing that obviously needed a man to rescue her out of a nasty situation. But these guys, the guys of this nature, these narcissists, they like women that way. They like subduable, conquerable, defeatable women that need them for everything, including, like I said, tampons. Women that can't do anything for themselves. And when they're like, baby, I need this. Baby, I need to go paint my nails. Baby, I need to go and do a manicure. And baby, I need a shirt. Baby, I need new bras. Baby, I need new panties. Baby, I need to go and do my hair. Baby, I need to buy new fake eyelashes. Baby, I need to Yeah, they get off on having a woman need them for everything, to a point of even letting him know that I don't have tampons. That's like it. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And this random, like, El Cheapo from South Africa that heard this, saw the color green, saw dollars. She just heard an American accent, and she seduced him until he left my sister for her. And just like with my friend, when my sister she moved out of that environment because, you know, it was messy. They were starting to get a divorce. And my sister had to go in, and they made the decision that my sister would live somewhere else. Okay? And the somewhere else that my sister stayed, sometimes it was with my mom, sometimes it was with some friends, etc. She was basically musical chairs playing around. So they're not even men enough to let the women keep the house for the season of the divorce. All right? And during the season of the divorce, my sister would sometimes, because she's got the key, it's her house, go there to go and get some of her things, and this chick would be there in like his shirt and wearing slippers and unashamed of herself, basically being the new woman of the house. This is my sister's house that she has paid mortgage on, that she's paying mortgage on, and some other woman is walking around in her man's shirt, and she's even unashamed. It was so heartbreaking. Yes, like it, guys. This activity, it made me hate that guy ever so permanently. It made me just write him off. And Unabora, he was not up to standard for my sister, and yet my sister accommodated him. And all of that abuse, that emotional abuse that he used to endure my sister through. My sister wasn't hit by that guy, though. He wasn't physically abusive, but he was emotionally abusive. All of the horror stories of his emotional abuse, we never knew until the divorce. We found out that sometimes she would try and hug him and get close to him, sit next to him on the couch, and he would be like, you're burning me with your body heat. You're too hot. Like, get away from me. Like, he was cold. He was mean. And nobody knew until the very end. Even though the signs were there, because he was not very affectionate towards her in front of us. And he used to every so often, throw jokes at her, but he used to throw jokes at everybody, and we thought that that's how he was, and that my sister is cool with it, until the horror telltale stories of all of which he did came out only at divorce. Women like this who keep buried a man's evil secrets, a man's horrible abuse, so that they can stay married, or so that nobody knows just how bad it is, because they think they can just like fix it somehow. Yeah, no, they become monsters. These women end up becoming monsters, just as my sister became a monster. My sister became a monster. I spoke about that in yesterday's video. My sister became a monster into darkness, and so too did my friend become a monster into darkness. Because of these men. They ruin women. And these women, the signs are always there. And they always marry them real fast, real quick, out of convenience or whatever. And that's what happened with my sister too. She married this guy, like, this guy Azangwa Kipi Lobola. He did not marry here in South Africa, did not do things the right way. They quickly eloped to America when my sister was still studying, just like with my friend. And my mom did not even know they were married until they were married for something like 2 or 3 years. So my mom was very upset, very disappointed, and all that jazz. But what can we do? And my sister, when like women that are entered into relationships like that, usually it's an agreement with a man, right? For the two of them to do it real quick without parents' knowledge, without parents understanding, and no matter what the parents say. Like with my friend, the parents were like, no, you guys cannot get married before she's out of school. And this guy was like, okay, fine, I'll honor what the parents are saying there, but they can't block me impregnating her. So he convinced my friend to fall pregnant. Like, when a woman is like, no, but I feel like I'm still too young. I want to first work my first job. I want to first, be a little bit, give a sharp. And then there's the emotional abuse where he is like, King, why, Vel? Are you telling me that you don't want to be my baby mama? Or you don't want to have my child? King, what is it? We're going to have them most eventually. I want to be a dad. And like, when a man pressurizes you into finally falling pregnant, and then she's like, okay, fine, I guess we've got the financial means to be able to take care of a baby. We'll find a workaround. And then next thing, a person is pregnant before they're ready. My sister was not trapped by pregnancy, but she was certainly in a nasty marriage, and it ended horribly. And the horror stories of this nasty that she was with only came out because of the divorce, because my sister now had to give context. And by the time the divorce is happening, the dude is just walking in his natural state, but it looks to us like a first-time experience. To all of us, everybody else that's in this woman's life is looking into the situation on some, how could you be so mean? How could you be so cold? How could you do this to her? How could you this? How could you that? We were still in how could you, because we had a character of this man, a version of this man that was not true. The true, real version of him that my sister knew was around all along. That monster that she was laying with every night, that kept on telling her whenever she would try and embrace him, get away from me, you're too hot, your body heat is boiling me, was around all along. And so it was not too shocking to my sister when he did what he did with that other woman to her. The things he would say, how horrible he was. She would forward his text messages to my mom's cell, and my mom would be like, and I would read and I would get so angry, and I would in my mind think, when did this guy become such a monster? It left such a bad taste in my mouth. But you see, it's not when did this guy become such a monster, he always has been. And my sister knew it, but she married him anyway. It's real fast, without all of us knowing. These guys that hide a woman, that run away with a woman, hide them in a corner, incubate them, and then as soon as it's a husband, as soon as she has pinned her down, then goes out of his way to make her feel really tiny, because the only reason why you even rushed to marry her in the first place was because you knew she was not in your league. You knew she was too big for you, and the best way that you could quickly subdue her is to marry her and put a baby in her stomach. And that's what happened with my friend. This dude quickly impregnated her. Wanted to marry her fast, but the parents were like, no, wait for our daughter to graduate. On the day of the graduation, she was pregnant. And then shortly afterwards, she gave birth to the baby. We had the baby shower, everything. They now in the marriage, they're living in this house, and there is nothing that we are picking up that's nasty. Except one day I get called after we go to a housewarming. Another thing, we only met him for the first time, just like this dude in America, marries my sister far away. And then we find out 2 years while they're living in South Africa that they're not a boyfriend and girlfriend pair, but a married couple. Because my sister's now getting a divorce. Now it's not just break up and move back to the US. You can't just break up and move to the US. It's a divorce. A marriage and community of property. You have to split property. There has to be agreements. Divorce ya dura. And manje, my sister can't keep quiet anymore because they're getting divorced. Can't keep quiet that it's a marriage. We found out that's how my sister was married. No lobola, no African customs, nothing. Yeah. But anyway, this guy, this friend of ours, she is in this marriage. Next thing she calls me, tells me bring down photos, and that's when I was like, talk to my boyfriend, and I'm like, boyfriend. My friend called me and said that I must bring down Tombe. What's up with that? Both of us scratching our heads, because none of us ever would have suspected that guy was abusive. Ever would have suspected that he was abusive. Ever. Until divorce manje yayenzakala, and at divorce all of us need a defibrillator to get out from shock. All of us can't believe this nonsense of a human being. We can't believe that he's been such a monster, because none of us saw it. Because this woman spent the entire relationship protecting a beast, even before they got married, even when she could get out. And what did that in my sister? to end up without telling us? What did that in this woman? Basically not let us know the first time this guy whammied her, the first time he slapped her. What trained that in my friend to hide it and stay in a relationship, not tell anybody? You know what? Allowing yourself to grow up in an ecosystem where you are always going to parties and everybody's always getting slapped in the hood. Every girl is always getting beaten by some guy. Everybody's always whatever. And so as women, you think this is normal. As women, you think this is normal. As women, you think when a guy says when a man calls you the W word, the H word, the S word, the B word, when a man is calling you all different kinds of things, whenever you have an argument, he's swearing at you. You thinking that that's normal. And sometimes some arguments ending up with, or just getting pushed against or drop, or ending up kampama, like a slap across the face. When you're so used to getting slapped by Makinza, go Soweto. Busy every time, like when guys like back in the day where there was like a whole ritual with boys in the hood asking girls out coercively. If you won't say yes to him, he will like basically almost break your arm until you're like okay, and now you're the girlfriend. And if he sees you with any other guy, he's got a right to basically whammy you. When you grow up in a climate or a culture in general where you're always being mbamafied, when you meet a guy that's a little bit more gentrified in the way that he slaps you, you're gonna think it's an upgrade. I actually knew a girl where I was working in the call center. She became my friend. She was hard knock ghetto, and she was already a baby mama of one gangster, and she decided to go and give a second gangster a baby. And I couldn't understand how this woman was just allowing herself to be in these abusive relationships. And yet she kept on playing musical chairs between guys that kept on slapping her. I couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand why she does not want more. Because where we were working, there were guys that used to ask her out that were like these snobbish dudes. Hey Mbali, so how about we have coffee, hey? And she was like, they don't have that jeunesse, they don't have that edge, they don't have that ghetto violence in them. And I was like, okay, girl, alright. And then next thing she rocks up 2 months later, she's like, girl, I met a guy, he's so cute, I like him. And then when she reads his stats to me, it's like a reading of wreaths, go funeralling, the way that his deeds were so dead. Baby mamas across all over Soweto Lime Katweni, and yet she went and gave him like the 8th or the 9th baby or something. 11, no, this guy had 11 kids, guys, and she gave him baby number 12. When she came and told me that she was pregnant by that Kinseri, I was like, congratulations. That's what I always say. Congratulations. Our relationship did not, was to this day, I think we're still friends on Facebook. But when I moved to another company, our friendship kind of fizzled away because we were too different. We were from two different worlds. The only reason we even got close as friends in the call center there was because when I was new, she was assigned to train me. And so we got close that way, but she was just not in my league. One time, as a friend from the office, she invited me to a party. She was older than me by like 2 years, right? So I could have been at that time like 20, 21, and she was like 23, right? One of the first jobs that I've ever had in my life after the learnership Yako Liberty life. And this cheeky invites me to a party, and I'm thinking, we're just gonna have fun. I had partied in Soweto before. We used to hang out and date guys Bako Rockville and Lamini and that whole area. So I did not expect anything out of, even like I told you, that those guys that we used to date in and of themselves was somewhat kind of gentrified, really snobble type thing. The bashes at the hectiki, mokutumpanang, the kushashe are spinning on the spot. We didn't do that. So when this chick invited me to a party in the hood, I thought it was just one of those that I'd been to in the past. And so I go, guys, yes, like it. Yes, the guy, you could tell, like one guy walked past us in this party, where there's like, we're standing by the DJ, the music is like rolling, and behind him was a gun. Like there was a gun in his like belt. I was like, hey, yes, like it. I was clenching, my friend. Like I was standing next to her, like I could not wait to leave because I was scared that what if one of the guys with a gun in his belt asks me out and I don't want to date him? What's gonna happen to me? I didn't have a car. She used to drive a Mini Cooper. So, she was the one that was dropping me off at home. I could not go home fast enough. Do you understand? I could not go home fast enough. And yeah, anyway, whatever, my friend, for crying out loud, the next Monday, go officing. She's like, so, did you have fun? I was like, shame. Never again would I ever agree to go to a party with her. I kept giving her excuses. Ghetto. She grew up in such environments where guys just walk around carrying guns. And so you can just pull it out, and kill somebody. Was smile, hey boy, unjani. Yeah, insofar as you're kind to him, otherwise, boy, you could find yourself 6 feet under. Such environments, mina angis dry. I've been in close proximity enough to people in those lifestyles, but I've never been in it. My own brother passed away from gun violence in the Gasi Go partying. They shot him dead, and he was only 22. So half brother. So like proper, I've been close enough to it to know that it's real, but far and away enough from it for it to not affect me personally. Type establishment thing until I guess like one of my friends was now relating stories about what went on with her. So this friend of mine grew up just like the Mbali from the call center, just like any other girl that is always in rough parts of partying and kids growing up. You know, there's a thin line. Seeing 2 different kinds of kids growing up. Abange don't know that level of violence, and then there are others in different that are always in violence. And my friend was in the violence, and she was used to dimpam and guys just slapping you because they can, because you won't come at them. Wada. Stories for days being told. And so after when she finally met a dude that was not vagrant in the Gasi, just hustling, but he actually had a proper registered business, and he was above reproach, it appeared, a normal guy. When he started to slap her, for her it was like, where am I gonna find this again? She had never known love. She had never known respect by men. She had never known honor. She had never been treated well, and she'd never been trained to expect anything differently. And she had always been the side piece, and this time around she was the main. So she buried it. When he came back and said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you, she probably was just like, okay, don't do it again. And it happened enough times, I would imagine, prior to them even getting married, for her to refuse. She was on edge with him. She was scared of this guy. And so she refused to introduce him to us. We knew about him. She told us about him initially when she was excited she's met a man. But then for a whole 3 years or something, we did not know him. We met him on her graduation. We met him on the graduation party. And Nancy Telobola, she had met our boyfriends and everything, but we had not met him. And even after that, she still never invited him anywhere. So she knew that this guy could be triggered by anything. She could just look at a guy and smile at him at a party, and she would get home and get a beating. So she never brought him around us. That was a sign. The signs were all there. They were yawning, they were gawking at all of us, and we, for whatever reason, my idiot's goodness, I'm wasting time. For whatever reason, we didn't expect it, but there was nothing to tell us, because I told you, this guy was so manipulative and he was such a narcissist that he basically impressed everybody. Now imagine a man that is abusive to you and everybody thinks he's the best thing for you. Can you imagine how trapped you must be in that ecosystem? Can you imagine how trapped you must feel as a woman when you know your man is a monster, and frankly every time he's busy laughing at everybody, you are cringing, and you are also feeling bitter because you know that he's not actually that kind. You know he's not that sweet. You know that as soon as the guests leave, he's going to raise something that didn't actually really truly happen, or he's not even going to be nice to you. He's not going to smile with you. He's not going to laugh with you. He is going to be moody when he goes to bed. You know what this man, umfaz wakona, you know when he's busy laughing with everybody, you gotta act as the wifey in question, like, isn't he sweet? Oh, your husband is so sweet, girl. Yeah, and you know that that's not true. My friend had to deal with that for years, and none of us snapped out of it. None of us woke up from the trance we were in about the true nature of this guy. None of us were aware until she told us the horror stories. Well, let me rather say me. The horror stories. She later probably also confided in another one of our friends when they all turned evil against me. And you know how when people turn evil against you, they then confide in each other in their wickedness. But initially I was the first person that she confided in. And the horror stories that were told made me look back in retrospect and see the signs. They were all there. But for me, it was just too, it was impossible. It was invisible. There was no way. That it could be what it is that ought be the automatic inference that I should have made. But I didn't make it, you know? And she stayed in that. She could have been one of those gender-based violence victims that died. And everybody at her funeral would never have known that the abuse was there, except maybe a couple of people that were in her immediate environment that saw it happen. There are people who probably will tell a woman, a situation that's disgusting, go back to a man that's nasty because he's taking care of everybody. But most of the people in her life would not have known if this woman had ended up dead. And I'm grateful that it was at a time as well where before the epidemic of gender-based violence in the country graduated to a level where now the matter was out of hand. Because I think at that stage, the spiritual climate in the country might have encouraged or motivated this guy to actually kill her. Because he was one of those. So I believe my friend was abused throughout the relationship, even before the marriage. I believe this guy coerced her into falling pregnant. He's emotionally manipulated her, and she capitulated. And as soon as she gave birth to their child, and there was only one that rocked up in the equation, he felt like he didn't have to work so hard anymore. However, his insecurities never really left, and so he made a decision to go and flail and dangle a substandard, lesser, lackluster woman in her grill and make her look like she's great. And according to my friend, during the time when they were busy getting a divorce, he's the one that stayed in the house while she was staying at her parents'. And I mean, goodness gracious, he owned the business that he had was in Soweto. So he had a greater incentive to move back to his mama's house because his business was closer. Whereas my friend worked in Sandton. And where it is that she was staying was closer to Sandton. Yeah, type establishment thing. And yet this guy insisted that my friend travel go trafficking ridiculous go old Bochi. Blah blah, all that jazz, go on the highway, bumper to bumper traffic all the way to Sandton. Every single day of the week, because he was selfish that way. He kept the house, and during the season when they were busy moving, while busy, they were busy finalizing it divorce. The woman, just like my sister's arch nemesis, she also was in the house as the lady of the house. She was also in the house, like proper, wearing her man's t-shirt and everything on some. I mean, this is my new man now, so whoops. Mistresses. Like proper, there's no justifying this nonsense. But I love him. We are more made for each other. We are more in love over here. Him and his wife. This guy, my sister's random ugly menace of a rando, used to tell tall tales about my sister's character flaws to this woman. And these character flaws, apparently, that my sister had, encouraged this woman to stay beastly against my sister. Because apparently a guy that's cheating on his wife is the one here that's got the right side of the story, right? My sister never had any such character flaw. I told you, she was a really great girl until she turned dark. Like, the past, like, however many years ago that she turned over to the darkness. And the thing that turned over to the darkness is the bitterness that came out of that ecosystem. That's what's good. But my sister was one of those doormats, frankly, and it was uncomfortable to watch. Kind of person to pay for everybody's drinks. And because they trust, they're taking for granted that she's the one that's making the highest money, the biggest salary. She was very, very successful, and so she had quite a lot of money. And we would go out clubbing, and she would insist on paying for everybody's drinks, and I hated that. I hated it. I was like, Labantu, they're gonna use you. Just because you got the money, don't spend it. Yeah, it's fine, buy my drinks, but that's only because I'm your sister. But everybody else, you're not here to pay for their booze. My sister was that girl. She was that girl. So the character assassination by everybody, but not everybody, sorry, but by the husband with a mistress is the deception in the life of a mistress. I don't even know what in the world that mistress girl is doing today. How she is surviving with a cold, aloof, random, like, dastardly nonsense of a human being. Because the character tends to be maintained in the future, so he's probably also quite mean and says some pretty horrible things to her now today too. And she's probably like, oh goodness, look at me now, being the wife, the mistress that turned wife to a man that is still quite a monster. He used to tell my sister, tell this mistress lady all different kinds of tall tales about my sister, and it caused the mistress lady to find comfort in being the other woman that is busy stabbing another woman in the back. This guy as well. My former friend probably also told this woman tall tales about his soon-to-be ex-wife, justifying sitting around in a woman's home that she's paying mortgage in, having sex with her husband while she is living as a teenager, traveling all the way to Sandton from Soweto while you comfortably lay in a bed that some other woman probably purchased. Like mistresses, there's never an excuse. There literally is never an excuse, and a lot of these guys will tell you all different kinds of reasons as to why it is that you're better and you're going to be better treated than how it is that they treated another woman. Like this dude from the US, how he used to talk about his ex-wife. He was always reviling her name. always reviling her. And he spoke about her as this like irresponsible. He used to say that I don't know how in the world any man can think that he can turn a whore into a housewife. Like, he said that. Like, when a man speaks like that about it, that should have been the first alarm bell. He was like, I don't know how in the world any man can ever think he can ever turn a whore into a housewife. Is that not some of the most misogynistic nonsense you've ever heard? And yet I sat it out. I was sitting there thinking, no, he was dating a woman that was all over the show. He said that his ex-wife, the reason why she even became an ex, is because during the time when he was in prison, was because she went and had 2 different babies by 2 different baby daddies. Except, I told you, America set this guy free, didn't it? This like random Menace was set free because of coronavirus. And so because of coronavirus, he got out of prison early. He was paroled early. He was not supposed to get out. This man was supposed to serve a much longer sentence. And the woman that he married was happily married to him, about to go and give him a whole bunch of babies in the future. And then he decided to send himself to prison. He decided to irresponsibly get himself in prison. He was arrested twice in that marriage. And the first time, he went to prison for 2 years. And this woman was there, ride or die, by him, visiting him in prison, bringing his daughter along to go and see dad. And she was not even the baby mama of that kid. She was the step mom. Because he married twice, I told you. And the kid belonged to the first wife. And yet this woman was taken care of and living with another woman's child, raising her because the first wife was happy that this kid should grow up with the dad, new wife. Custody was given to the guy. And when he went to prison, she did not ship this child away. She did not send the kid away. She kept raising her as her own child. So that is the character of this woman. I should have just picked it up. And then she would go and see him. She stayed faithful. And then he got out of prison. And the reason why he even went in prison in the first place was because of this woman. He beat her up. And he low-key confessed this. He said that one time he ripped her wig off her head, and on the same night, because she came back from some party and some dude dropped her off. And so he got all violent with her. And she then went on right ahead to report it to the police and then tried to drop the charges. But by then, there were already other things that the police were looking for him for. And so he found himself going to prison for 2 years for some other thing. However, this woman had already dropped the charges of domestic violence against her. Like, why in the world this did not raise red flags? Like, I bet y'all are listening to me on some kind of, well, how did you end up with that? Yeah, I did. For like 5 seconds. He then went to prison for 2 years, and she wrote it out, feeling guilty for the fact that she's the one that brought the eyes of the police on him by simply going and reporting a case of domestic violence on him. And so she set it out and raised the daughter another 2 years, kept on going to go vagashela him, Besuk, in prison. He got out of prison, and he was now supposed to do better. And then he ended up entering into an altercation where he nearly killed a man. And that then sent him to prison for attempted murder. The man of which that he nearly killed, he claims he was busy charging him. And he was busy afflicting him. And it was his mom's, his mother's husband. And this man kept on saying to him over and over again, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you. And then one day the man charged him, and then he wielded a knife and rather stabbed this man. And kept on stabbing him, but then made a decision to stop stabbing because he said that the Holy Spirit told him to stop. The man lived to tell the tale, but he went to prison for attempted murder. And he said that they wanted to first give him life, but he fought it. I don't know what sentence they did give him, but it certainly does not make sense to give a man for attempted murder just like 7 years or 5 years or whatever. So he basically lost his 30s. He lost most of his 30s in prison. And the second time when he went to prison, the woman was like, what in the world? We were trying to make it work. We were planning to have a family. We were going to add to this family from your daughter. I was your wife, for crying out loud. And then you went and sent yourself back to prison. And this time around, what do you want me to do? I am a woman this man is a 1980 baby. So I wouldn't be surprised if that woman is my age, 1984, maybe 85, 86. So this is a woman that is in her early 30s. This is a woman that was planning on having her first child ever with this man. And then he goes to prison for however long. And she's counting 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43. By the time this man comes out, I'm going to be 45. She probably was thinking like that. And so told herself that I want to be a mom and I'm not going to wait for this guy. She did not divorce him, but she did not also go out of her way to, She did not visit him. This time around she was mad. She was angry. And so she went and had the kids she's always wanted. with, according to this guy, 2 different men. And he then claimed that made her a whore. That made her a whore by having those 2 kids with those 2 different baby daddies. And when he came out of prison, nobody was expecting him to come out of prison, and she was pregnant at the date of his release. And he said that because she was a fat woman, he thought that maybe she was just fat, and he asked her, "Are you pregnant?" And she denied it because she was still scared of him and maybe sort of kind of low-key in love with him. However, when then she went on right ahead to pop the baby, it became clear that I know this woman is indeed pregnant, and that's what caused him then to file for divorce. This woman did not file for divorce. He's the one that filed for divorce because apparently, allegedly, she cheated on him, except you sent yourself back to prison. But the way that he told me the story is that how in the world do you make a whore into a housewife? If at all you were planning on making this woman a housewife, you should not have gone to prison, because who was going to take care of her after you left? You insisted that she doesn't work. You insist that she does not bring bread to the table. And now when you go to prison, understand, a woman is going to try and make ends meet. She's going to hustle. A woman is going to hustle. He made her raise his daughter alone. His daughter got out of teenage years and was then able to take care of herself. So this woman took care of his child because his mother was irresponsible, unable to. There was no one in the family to raise this kid. So a woman raised some other man's baby, some other woman's baby. That was the most that she did. Frankly, she did enough. She did enough. She raised his daughter. She never abandoned his daughter. She took her in as her own and finished raising her. But then also went on right ahead to have 2 men impregnate her. So I mean, even if I was even the daughter of this man, I would be like, my dad is in prison. What do I expect my stepmom to do? What do I expect my stepmom to do? But the way that he told me stories about this woman, he told me that she was a whore, that she could not keep it in a bunch, that she was a cheat, that she was an immoral woman, that she didn't. Oh yeah, another thing that he said was that even when I was in prison, she didn't even come and visit me once. It was only after we broke up that in retrospect I thought that the first time he went to prison, she was ride or die and made up besuka almost every weekend. The second time she didn't come because when I was thinking now as a woman, I was like, she didn't come because she was fed up. She was mad. She was angry that this guy decided to take himself to prison again when they were about to plan a family after his first fluke. She forgave him the first time. The second time around, she was like, my biological clock is ticking and I'm not about to wait for you until I'm 45 and menopaused. So frankly, go. Whatever. I'm gonna have my kids. I want to have my own children. I won't just accept being a stepmom to your daughter. I want my own biological children, and she went and made them. She went and had other kids. I mean, she wasn't saved, and that's also another issue. He went and married an unbeliever, so she had no spiritual conviction to stick by her husband either, type thing. He was just this compromised random that had always been lukewarm. But the horror stories that he told about this woman made me basically think of both his ex-wives, the first one and the second one, as these monsters that an unfortunate man happened upon. How I was that naive, I don't understand it. I guess a season of Korobela, where you're dizzy over a man's spells, will mess you up. And also when you are so poverty-stricken and so hurting and need anybody at all to tell you they love you, you will take nonsense in your stride until you snap out of it. So mistresses, proper, you keep on getting told lies by men that are monsters and that will give you a side of a woman that is not even true just to justify their end, but you ultimately learn the hard way. You ultimately find out, mistresses, that this guy was a beast. Just in the same way that I learned that his ex-wife was, when I thought like a woman, I realized that woman did what any other worldly woman that does not know Jesus would have done. When a man decides to go to prison for so many years, while you are in your childbearing years, would you wait for him to get out? Especially considering he keeps taking himself back. Would you wait for him to get out? Or would you go and right ahead and do what a woman gotta do? This woman was scared of this man, so scared of him, that she did not even ask for a divorce so she can go and marry in peace. She did not do anything. She just left him to rot in prison. And then America, the state of California, made a decision to set prisoners free. And so she was even scared when she was pregnant to let him know. And she said, no, I'm not pregnant. I'm just fat. But she was pregnant. She was pregnant. So, I mean, really, frankly, she was better off. She was better off, and here it is, Karabo would have gone and married that monster that would have, because he never really stopped doing crime, he would have then also made out of me a woman that pesukas in prison. What in the world? Karabo, Mina, the snob, yeah. Mina senyo pesuka manja, I mean, go Sun City. He Lord send a man di banana di orange di perakisi because he would have moved to South Africa. So he would have found himself in a South African penitentiary And I would have literally gone, yo, besuka, trying to justify this nonsense. Like, proper, how do you look at God after that? After he allows you to end up in that mess as an apparent Christian. Well, that's just the glory of Christianity. That's just the glory of actually truly belonging to Jesus. He rescues you from ending up in a situation like that insofar as you consecrate yourself to him and you pray. This guy did not stand a chance because I was prayerful. And even though I allowed myself to be dumb, sneezing from the hallucinogens of occult drugs, I was rescued, Psalm 91, from the foulest snare and the deadly pestilence. I was rescued. And only once I was out of that was it like an aha moment that Lomuntu Lona, he spoke sweet nothings to me and bad-mouthed a woman, because that's what all men that cheat on women, that mistreat women do. That's how women find themselves being mistresses of married men. Men who go on right ahead and revile the name of his wife so that the side piece, the mistress, can feel good about hurting another woman. So really and truly, Zitigan chicken, I can see why listener alert, people, wang, people. Just like going on your foreheads, like perpetually, when a guy is busy telling you tall tales, because proper, or a man that's divorced twice. So this guy wanna divorce day two. How in the world you be getting divorced twice? I ignored my own spiritual convictions, but you see, that guy was an infiltration by my ex-boyfriend. Like my ex wanted me to end up dating so horribly that any man that would come after him would basically pale in comparison to him. My ex na lawyer, he was he was busy with me with witchcraft. So that made him a horrible boyfriend. But I will acknowledge that he never laid a hand on me. He never spoke harshly to me. He was never rude. He never swore at me. He was the kind to buy flowers, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, I guess like when a guy is busy using you as a puppet on a string, a marionette, it's okay if he does that to you insofar as he buys you flowers. So I guess that's what was up with my ex. He was able to maintain somewhat of a healthy personality all throughout the relationship. Gross. But then he ended up manifesting demons when I was busy getting called by God. He manifested demons when I was getting called by God to get renewed, when I was getting saved. He all of a sudden couldn't handle my company, so he became somewhat low-key rude towards the end, but never so rude that he would ever swear at me, use all different kinds of things. He still maintained somewhat of his original personality, but with a rude edge type establishment, but the rudeness of which was nothing in comparison to what I was endured under by this random animal from the US, and also some other dude that I dated briefly when I was working at MTN. Only 2 guys I've been with in this entire time, ever since breaking up with that guy. So essentially his witchcraft has been in operation, in the sense that every guy that does pursue me, and very hotly, is the very kind of guy that he wanted me to end up with, so that I would ever think it did not get better than him. Yeah, that was my ex's whole strategy, and now it has come back to bite him in the behind. It is backfiring because I stayed single and I never ended up with a monster, and every monster that's come through, God has swept them out of the way, so now he's trying to kill me. Death spells. He's graduated to new heights. There was a lot of bitterness going on over there, and now I have an understanding that there is an insistence that I should end up with the kind of husband that my friend had, that Madibu Singh had. Kind of guy that I will protect, because when I was with this dude, I could not even fathom how in the world I would come on my YouTube channel and explain the kind of man that is my fiance. I wanted to conceal some of his details. I didn't want people to know that he was from prison. I didn't want people to know that he's got 2 ex-wives. I did not want people to know about his kids, especially the one that he's not taking care of. And the Lord later let me know that he's got others that he had not told me about. I wanted to protect his true nature in order to justify having a man around that I'm claiming is really doting and loves me. I wanted to only indicate or highlight the portion where he rescued me, he protected me, he took me out of sorrow and squalor. When my family was treating me like rubbish, he rescued me from that tyranny. Yeah, I wanted to just put that out there as my testimony. But would I have not ended up just like Prophet Lovi's wife, marrying a dude that's been married before, and one that's got such a dark, like true actual life, that I've got to spend all of my life snuffing out fires, that I've got to spend the true nature of our marriage hiding the truth about my husband until I get a divorce. And then only at divorce people are like, oh, Karabs, I didn't know you went through that. Oh my goodness, you know these guys, they're such trash. like my friend, coming out with all of the dirty nastiness only once divorce has happened. But by then, she is so scarred and she is so afflicted that even when she wants to look to Jesus, she can't help but be embittered by the observation of friends around her that are still going to grab the future that she lost, the future that she put a dent in, do you understand, in romance type thing. My friend initially was happy to fellowship with me in Christ because I wanted her to find healing from what she had gone through in Jesus. But it got to a point where she couldn't stand my optimism. She couldn't stand my optimism because I had yet to ruin my life. Remember when I told you guys about the cousin of mine that had fell pregnant in high school and the baby daddy was a gangster, and how it is that women like this, a lot of times when they, because of the mistakes they make as young as they make them, the rest of their girls still have a clean shot at a future. And because they still have a clean shot, they get very jealous, they get embittered, and then they become spiritually manipulative. They then start to slap all of their girls with witchcraft. That's what happened with this friend of mine. She got to a point where even though she wanted to turn to Jesus, she wanted to listen to the Holy Spirit, the devil took her, basically set in her heart with jealousy. Like with Cain, the Lord said to him, Cain, Satan is crouching at your door, sin is crouching at your door, and its desire is to have you or consume you, but you must defeat it, you must conquer it. So sin was crouching at her door, and God told her, of course she was convicted because she was fellowshipping with me in Christ. And the Lord was telling her, however, when jealous feelings were spurring up in her, that the devil is tempting you, that Satan is putting jealous feelings in your heart. Satan is making you look at what you think is your shattered life, and is then causing you to look at what you think is still the clean slate that all your friends have. And he wants to make you turn to witchcraft. He wants to make you turn to spiritual manipulation to hurt your girls, but you must conquer it. Sin is crouching at your door and its desire is to have you, but you must conquer it. My friend didn't conquer it. She didn't conquer it. I wouldn't be surprised if my other friend, the best friend, ended up falling pregnant because she also wanted to leave a nasty guy. However, she wasn't married to him. All of us had walked out. Well, I had walked out successfully from a bad relationship. I was truly saved in Christ, but I was trying to get my girls to get out from Milo that were being lit around them. And I was successfully reading in my best friend. I was successfully reading in this other friend of mine, right? I was successfully reeling them in. And at the same time, they both went hostile on me. And at the same time that I got dreams about this one, or that married the nasty guy, basically mistreating me in like some environment, I kept getting a flood of dreams about her. At the same time I started getting these dreams, this other girl fell pregnant. This other friend of mine fell pregnant by the same guy that she was trying to leave. So whatever she did to me did not work because I was saved. But my other girl was straddling the fence. She was also interested in the things of God, but she would go after being convicted about sexual sin and fornicate with her boyfriend. This guy was able to successfully reel her in because she never truly surrendered to Jesus. And so the tsunami took her. And the witchcraft of this other friend, I believe, took my friend away, because highly unlikely when you are dealing with a woman that embittered by a man, is she then going to target just one woman? Every woman around her that has got a hope of happiness in the future, she will go after them. And since we were all her friends, she did not want any of us okay. She wanted all of us to be compromised in some way or to settle. So she made my friend settle, and I wouldn't. And then I later, once I was entered into a lot of persecution and thrown into the fire, right, of what it is that I'm going through right now, I started getting nightmares of she and my former best friend always walking around everywhere gossiping me. The two of them comforting each other in the mistakes they made. Both being, well, the one was already divorced, but the other one was married to a man she couldn't stand. She had settled. And this friend of mine that was married to the man that she couldn't stand, that had settled, right, that had fallen pregnant all of a sudden, even though we were convicted of sexual sin to stop fornicating. And she was also on the pill. So how in the world did you fall pregnant? A guy convinced you, somehow managed to lure you in trance-like witchcraft. This friend of mine, my best friend, then came against me. She then came against me when as soon as my best friend settled, she came against me too. And I would get dreams, nightmares on a loop of her stealing, like one dream, for instance, every crush I had ever had, whether or not I dated it from primary school, every crush I had ever had from primary school. In this dream, I would meet these guys, and start to walk towards them on some hi Spasiso, hi Paul, hi Temple, hi whatever. And she would, before I would so much as get close to any of them, she would stand in front of me and start flirting with every guy. And every time I would move to the next guy to say, hi, Sbusiso, she would then be in front of him. Like all of a sudden, you know how dreams are weird like that? She was like literally just shift quickly, like moving like the Flash from guy to guy. Every crush I'd ever had, like from primary school, let me not say from Winchester Ridge Primary, all the way up until like now that date where it is that I'm a grown woman working in corporate. Every single one of the crushes that I have ever had in my entire life, she prevented me from finishing what we started with every one of them, every one that I walked towards, including ones that were my boyfriends, like my ex, the very one that has put all the spell was in my dream. So too was my other exes. They were in there alongside guys that I crushed on but didn't date. They were in the dream, and every time I would walk to any of them, she would stand in front of them and start flirting with them, and they would get dizzy. They would get dizzy and focus on her, and then stop looking at me. And the one that hurt the most was the crush that I had at the time, because there was a guy that I was looking at that we were busy. I was flirting with him. I thought he was Christian, and he was working at MTN, and the two of us had a lot of chemistry. And in my dream, she also prospered to steal him away. And this guy, I had more dreams about him, where it is that this time around she didn't just steal him away, but she actually was having a whole steamy romping session with him in front of me. She was having sex with him. I should have known from that dream that that guy wasn't saved. I should have also known from that dream that my friend was bewitching me, but I would only learn much later what my spiritual gifting. Only once I lost everything was I able to interpret my dreams, because I did not imagine it was witchcraft that I was seeing. So I would write it off and wonder, why is my bestie standing, like having sex with the guy that I am currently feeling like big time. That dude that I was feeling like big time ended up marrying another woman. Following marrying another woman, of which he then would focus so much energy on witchcraft on me so I don't ever get married. So he passes me up and then makes sure that I am never okay again. I came to learn that he was involved very deeply in the occult as well. So that's why he was put in that compromised position in my dream, where he was also partaking with her in dirty deeds in my dream, breaking my heart, both of them. It was like my best friend with what I imagined was my future husband, and they were doing funny relations in front of me in my dream. And yo guys, the level of betrayal is out of this world. That friend of mine did what she did to me because of the fact that she settled, she compromised. So I'm getting to a point here, women, when you allow yourself to fall away because of something that you know is nasty, but you settle for it, you end up being a menace to other ladies. You end up being a monster to other women. You can't stand the prospect of other women being okay. This friend helped my ex get what he wanted. These friends of mine, they helped my ex-boyfriend get what he wanted. They all together participated in the mutiny against my life. My ex didn't want me to be happy again. After I rejected him, he sent me a lot of korobela, a lot of bring back lost lover. And in one of the dreams, I was even pregnant with his child, not wanting the baby, not wanting him, because of the fact that I didn't want to be with him. And I resisted. I was already in Christ at that time. After the bring back lost lover, he gave up because he saw that I was not responding appropriately to it. I was not coming back to him. So he then changed his witchcraft to, fine, you don't want to be with me, but you're never going to be happy. You are going to be with a guy that is substandard to me, and you will always miss me. You will always miss how good I was to you. You will always miss everything that I did, everything that I am. No man will ever compare. So essentially his witchcraft made sure that it drew only nasty men to me, and that can account for why the guy from MTN approached me. Right, there was a dude from MTN that I dated briefly that was a devil worshipper. I thought he was a Christian, and he slapped me with witchcraft. If anything, he lured me into his life with korobela. That was the first relationship I ever got into in Christ. It was only 2 years into my redemption. It ended within 2 months. The rest of the time I was single until about 1.5 to 2 years ago, where I met the guy from the US, and that's the second guy that I've ever been with in this entire time. And that relationship lasted like 3 weeks to a month. Both relationships never went far at all, because as soon as the weapons of my ex were darted in my direction, God snuffed them out. He snuffed them out. So I've been single the entire time, except for 2 times, and both relationships did not even last more than 2 months. One was 1 month, under a month. The other was under 2 months. And the first relationship, I nearly fell into sexual sin because the guy was in close proximity to me. But the second one from the US, that could not happen because he was far away. However, the guy was so sexually perverse that he used to sex talk me. He used to sex talk me. Like, I would tell him, you're stumbling me, but he would keep on telling me what it is that he wants to do with my body and all that jazz. And that for me was like, what's going on? Like, why does this guy not have conviction that this is not okay? And I ended up somewhat capitulating one time And that's when God severed things. Also, like, God always just cuts things. It's always these sexually perverse guys that come my way that are nothing in comparison to my ex-boyfriend. They're nothing. Like, they pale in comparison to my ex. Let's move to the next part.